Respected viewers, dear family of dreamers, thank you for being here. I don't take your time lightly. Time is the only currency we never earn back, and the fact that you chose to spend it with me tells me something about you. It tells me you're searching not just for money, but for meaning. Not just for returns, but for reassurance. So settle in, breathe, and listen not just with your ears, but with your life. Because here's the quiet truth most people never hear. There is a moment, just one, when your future quietly asks you a question. Not out loud, not dramatically, but in a whisper that sounds like doubt or fear or hesitation. And how you answer that moment determines whether wealth becomes your destiny or just a dream you almost lived. That moment is closer than you think. I want to talk to you today about building your first $1 million portfolio, not the hard way, not the flashy way, not the way that looks good on social media, but the easy way. Easy doesn't mean lazy. Easy means aligned. It means working with reality instead of fighting it. Most people make money complicated because they're trying to impress others or escape themselves. I've seen brilliant people stay broke because they wanted certainty. And I've seen ordinary people build extraordinary wealth because they respected risk. Let me take you back for a moment. There was a time when money felt heavy to me, not because I didn't understand numbers, but because every dollar carried pressure, pressure to be right, pressure to not fail, pressure to prove something. Maybe you know that feeling. You open your bank app and your chest tightens. You think, I should be further by now. You compare your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. That's not a money problem. That's a mindset wound. The first lesson in building $1 million portfolio is this: before money grows in accounts, it must grow in patience. People ask, what should I buy? They never ask, who do I need to become? Here's the easy way, the real easy way. You stop trying to get rich fast and you start trying to get strong slow. The market doesn't reward excitement, it rewards endurance. Your first million isn't built by genius trades. It's built by surviving mistakes long enough for compounding to notice you. I've made bad calls, painful ones, the kind that humble you at 3 a.m., the kind that make you stare at the ceiling and replay every decision. But here's what those losses gave me: clarity. Loss taught me respect. Respect for risk, respect for capital, respect for time. And respect is what turns investing into a lifelong ally instead of a dangerous addiction. Let me tell you a story. I once watched two people start investing at the same time, same age, same income, same market. The first one chased ideas, hot tips, fast movers. He wanted excitement. He wanted stories to tell at dinner parties. Some years he won big, most years he gave it back. He lived emotionally attached to every position. The market controlled his mood. The second person was boring, almost painfully boring. He bought great businesses. He held them through noise, through fear, through boredom. He added consistently. He didn't care about headlines, he cared about ownership. 10 years later, one had memories, the other had freedom. The easy way is boring, and boring is beautiful. Your first million comes from 3 simple principles lived consistently, not perfectly. First, protect your downside. If you don't lose big, you don't need to win big. Most people think wealth is about upside. It's not. It's about survival. If you stay in the game long enough, opportunity eventually introduces itself. But if you blow up early, the game ends before the lesson arrives. So you diversify, not because you're afraid, but because you're humble. You admit you don't know the future, and that humility keeps you alive. Second, concentrate where you understand. Diversify to survive. Concentrate to grow. You don't need 50 ideas. You need a few you truly understand. Businesses with real cash flow, real demand, real staying power. Things you'd be comfortable owning if the market closed tomorrow. You can't sleep owning it. You don't own it. It owns you. Third, let time do the heavy lifting. Time is the greatest investor that ever lived. Compounding is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. For years, it feels like nothing is happening. And then one day, you look back and realize the growth wasn't linear. It was exponential. That's why consistency beats intensity every single time. You don't need perfect timing. You need time in the market with a calm mind. I know some of you are thinking, but I don't have much to start with. Good. That's not a weakness. That's a gift. When you start small, you're forced to focus on process instead of ego. You learn discipline before abundance. And that discipline will protect you when the numbers finally get big. Your first 10,000 teaches you habits. Your first 100,000 teaches you patience. Your first 1,000 teaches you who you really are. but only if you let the journey shape you instead of rushing to escape it. Here's something I want you to sit with. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're anxious now, you'll be anxious with more. If you're reckless now, you'll be dangerous with more. If you're calm now, focused now, grounded now, wealth will feel like peace, not pressure. The easy way is inner alignment. You invest regularly, even when it feels boring. You ignore noise. Even when fear is loud, you respect cycles, because nothing moves in straight lines. And you remember, this is not about proving anything to anyone. This is about building a life where money works for you quietly, faithfully, over time. And if you stay with me, if you truly listen beyond the words, you'll realize your first million was never about the number. It was about becoming the kind of person who can hold it without losing themselves. Pause here with me. Let that sink in. At some point on this journey, you'll notice something strange happening. The numbers may start to move, slowly at first, but something else shifts faster than your balance sheet. Your relationship with money changes. You stop checking prices every hour. You stop reacting to every headline. You stop asking, what if I'm wrong? And start asking, what if I'm early? That's when you know you've crossed an invisible line. Because wealth doesn't begin with confidence. Confidence begins with clarity. Most people never build a $1 million portfolio because they never decide what the portfolio is for. Is it freedom? Is it security? Is it legacy? Is it choice? If you don't define the purpose, the market will define it for you. And the market has no mercy. I've watched people make life changing money and still feel poor. And I've watched others with far less feel deeply wealthy. The difference wasn't intelligence, it wasn't luck, it was intention. Let me tell you something quietly, almost privately. Your first million is not built by chasing returns. It's built by eliminating self-sabotage, overtrading, overthinking, overreacting. These are emotional leaks, and emotional leaks drain capital faster than bad investments ever could. You see, the market is a mirror. It reflects your discipline, your patience, your fear. If you bring chaos into it, it gives chaos back. If you bring calm, it rewards you with clarity. This is why the easy way starts with structure. You automate your investing. Not because you're lazy, but because you respect your emotions enough to keep them out of the way. You invest on schedule, you rebalance with intention, you review, not react. You don't need to predict recessions, you need to survive them. Some of the best opportunities of your life will arrive wrapped in fear. They won't look attractive, they won't feel comfortable, and they certainly won't be announced as once in a lifetime. That feeling uncertain. Quiet, that's when preparation pays you back. I remember moments when the world felt like it was ending financially. People panicking, selling, swearing they'd never invest again. And in those moments, I wasn't excited, I was calm. Calm because I knew cycles end. Calm because I respected balance sheets. Calm because I didn't need to be right tomorrow, only over time. This is another truth most people miss. You don't build $1 million portfolio in bull markets. You build it by what you do in bear markets. Anyone can feel smart when prices go up. Character is revealed when they go down. When markets fall, you're given a gift, the chance to buy future growth at a discount, but only if you preserved capital, only if you haven't panicked, only if you've kept your identity separate from your net worth. If your self-worth rises and falls with the market, you'll never be free. Freedom comes when you realize this is a long conversation with time, not a shouting match with today. Now, let's talk about simplicity. The easy way means you stop searching for secrets. There are no secret assets, no magic indicators, no hidden shortcuts. There are only enduring principles repeated patiently. Own productive assets, reinvest earnings, let compounding breathe, avoid ruin. That's it. Your portfolio doesn't need to impress strangers. It needs to serve your future self, the one who wants choices, calm mornings, unforced generosity. And generosity matters more than people admit. Because when money becomes your only goal, it controls you. But when money becomes a tool for impact that obeys you, I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up one day, not rich overnight, but stable, secure, unrushed, knowing your portfolio works quietly in the background while you live your life in the foreground. That peace, that's the real return. But peace is built, not wished for. It's built by saying no to things that don't align, by holding when it's uncomfortable, by trusting process over prediction. You don't need to watch the market every day. You need to watch yourself. Are you patient? Are you disciplined? Are you consistent when no one is watching? because those habits, those quiet choices, they stack slowly at first, then suddenly. And one day, you'll realize the portfolio crossed numbers you once thought were impossible, not because you were special, but because you were steady. Steady is rare. Pause again. Let this settle into you. There's a moment on this path that few people talk about. It's not dramatic, no fireworks, no sudden celebration. It's the moment when you realize you're no longer desperate. You're still hungry, but you're not frantic. You still want more, but you're not afraid. That emotional shift is worth more than any single investment return, because desperation makes people chase. Calm makes people choose. This is where your first million truly starts forming long before the number appears. You begin to think in ownership, not outcomes. You stop asking, how much can this go up? And start asking, how long can this last? Longevity becomes attractive. Durability becomes exciting. You start respecting businesses that survive storms instead of those that sparkle in sunshine. Let me be very honest with you. The market doesn't pay you for intelligence. It pays you for temperament. I've seen people with far less knowledge outperform experts simply because they didn't panic. They didn't overtrade. They didn't abandon their plan at the first sign of discomfort. Discomfort is part of the process. If you expect certainty, you'll quit early. If you expect volatility, you'll endure. This is why the easy way requires emotional maturity. You accept that drawdowns are not punishments, they're tuition. You accept that boredom is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of discipline. You accept that missing out on hype is often the price of long-term peace, and peace compounds faster than stress ever could. Here's another story I want to share with you. There was a period when nothing seemed to work. The portfolio moved sideways. Months passed. Then years. Anyone watching from the outside would have said, this isn't going anywhere. But beneath the surface, something powerful was happening. Dividends were being reinvested. Balance sheets were strengthening. Cash flows were growing quietly. The seed doesn't rush the soil, it trusts the season. Then one day, without warning, growth accelerated, not because of luck, but because patience finally met time. That's how compounding reveals itself late, and all at once. Most people quit 5 minutes before the miracle, not because they're incapable, but because they're tired of waiting without applause. But wealth is built in silence. No one claps for discipline. No one celebrates consistency until the results speak for you, and they will if you stay. Now let's talk about something deeper, identity. If you identify as someone trying to get rich, you'll always feel behind. But if you identify as a long-term owner of assets, a steward of capital, a builder of value, your behavior changes automatically. You become less reactive, more thoughtful, more selective. You don't need to know everything, you need to know yourself. When fear shows up, you don't fight it, you acknowledge it. You ask, is this fear telling me something real or something emotional? And most of the time it's emotional. Markets move faster than human psychology can handle. That's why rules matter. Rules protect you from yourself on your worst days, so you write them down. When will you add? When will you hold? When will you step back? Not in the heat of the moment, but in calm. The easy way is pre-decided discipline. And here's a quiet secret. Your first million often comes faster once you stop staring at it. When you focus on process, allocation, consistency, risk management, the outcome takes care of itself. When you obsess over the number, you introduce tension, and tension leads to mistakes. Money flows where attention is calm. I want you to imagine your future self for a moment, not flashy, not loud, just grounded. A person who doesn't rush decisions, who doesn't need validation, who knows that wealth is not about excess, it's about options. That future self is watching you right now. Every choice you make today is either building their freedom or borrowing from it. This is why you don't rush the first million. You let it build you first. Sit with that, breathe with it. And now we arrive at a quieter, more mature phase of the journey. This is where many people think the work is done, but in truth, this is where the real work begins, because as your portfolio grows, your ego will try to grow faster. You'll hear voices, sometimes external, sometimes internal, telling you that you're smarter now, that the rules don't apply anymore, that you can take bigger risks because you've earned it. This is where fortunes are either protected or slowly undone. The easy way demands humility at every new level. You remind yourself that markets don't care about your past wins. You remind yourself that every dollar in your portfolio deserves the same respect as the first one you ever saved. You remind yourself that protecting what you've built is just as important as building it. Wealth is not about acceleration forever. It's about balance. At this stage, you begin to see clearly that concentration without control is dangerous and diversification without conviction is weak. So you adjust, not dramatically, not emotionally, but thoughtfully. You trim when things become irrational. You add when value returns. You keep cash not as fear, but as patience. Patience is a position. Most people underestimate how powerful it is to simply wait with capital intact. Waiting gives you leverage. Waiting gives you clarity. Waiting allows opportunity to come to you instead of you chasing it, and opportunity always comes back around. It always does. I've seen markets collapse and recover. I've seen entire narratives die and new ones rise. Through it all, one truth remains constant: capital flows to discipline, not excitement, not noise, not prediction. This is when you start thinking less about beating the market and more about building a life. You ask different questions now. How much risk do I really need? How much is enough? What kind of life do I want this portfolio to support? These questions are signs of wisdom, because the goal of the first million is not consumption, it's stability. It's creating a base so solid that you no longer make decisions from fear. Fear of bills, fear of emergencies, fear of saying no. Money at its best buys you dignity, and dignity allows you to move through the world with calm authority. Not arrogance, just grounded confidence. Here's something I want you to understand deeply. If you build your portfolio correctly, it will start paying you in more than dollars. It will pay you in time, in flexibility, in the ability to walk away from situations that don't honor you. That's real wealth. But that kind of wealth requires restraint. You don't inflate your lifestyle with every gain. You don't turn temporary success into permanent obligations. You let your portfolio grow faster than your expenses. This gap, this margin, is where freedom lives. I've watched people hit big numbers and feel trapped because their lives expanded faster than their balance sheets. And I've watched others with smaller portfolios feel infinitely richer because they kept their needs simple and their vision clear. The easy way is intentional living. You choose investments that align with your temperament. If volatility steals your sleep, you don't force aggression. If patience is your strength, you lean into it. There is no single right portfolio, only the right portfolio for you. And when you accept that, that comparison loses its power. You stop measuring yourself against strangers. You start measuring yourself against your own values. That's when wealth becomes peaceful. Let me say this slowly. You don't need to win every year. You don't need to catch every trend. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to stay whole, stay patient, and stay aligned. Because if you do that long enough, the million doesn't arrive with noise. It arrives quietly, almost shyly. One day you look up and it's there, not as a finish line, but as a foundation. This is where the journey turns inward. Once the mechanics are in place, once the habits are steady, once the portfolio begins to feel real instead of theoretical, you're faced with a deeper question. What kind of person will you be with wealth? Because money doesn't change your character, it reveals it. At this stage, the market becomes less of a battlefield and more of a teacher. Every cycle reminds you that nothing is permanent. Not fear, not euphoria, not success. And that awareness keeps you grounded. You stop reacting to short-term noise because you've learned something important. Urgency is expensive. Calm is profitable. This is where the easy way becomes almost spiritual. You begin to see investing not as a hustle, but as stewardship. You're not chasing money, you're caring for capital. You're placing it where it can grow responsibly, contribute productively, and return stronger over time. And when you adopt that mindset, your decisions slow down and improve. Let me share something personal in spirit, if not in detail. There were moments when I could have swung harder, leveraged more, gone all in on ideas that felt brilliant in the moment. And sometimes those ideas even worked for a while. But the question that always guided me back was simple. Will this still make sense if I'm wrong? That question has saved me more times than any spreadsheet ever could. The easy way respects asymmetry. You seek opportunities where upside is meaningful, but downside is survivable. You don't bet your future on being right. You structure your life so being wrong doesn't end the story. That's wisdom. This is also where you learn to separate activity from progress. Doing more doesn't mean building more. Trading more doesn't mean earning more. Talking about money more doesn't mean understanding it better. Progress often looks like stillness, holding, waiting, letting things mature, just like life. At this stage, many people feel a strange temptation to speed things up. They're close enough to taste the million, and that proximity creates impatience. Be careful here. Impatience near the finish line has ruined more journeys than ignorance at the start. Remember, the goal was never to reach a number as fast as possible. The goal was to arrive whole, calm, clear, with your values intact, because wealth without peace is just another form of poverty. Now your portfolio begins to reflect your inner order. It's not cluttered. It's intentional. Every holding has a reason. Every allocation tells a story about your priorities. You review periodically, not obsessively. You adjust when facts change, not when emotions flare. You accept that missing some upside is the price of sleeping well at night. And that sleep, that peace is priceless. Here's something few people will ever tell you. The closer you get to real wealth, the quieter your life becomes. Less probing, less explaining, less chasing. You don't announce moves. You don't seek applause. You don't need permission. You trust yourself because you've earned that trust slowly through consistency. And when mistakes happen, and they still will, and you don't spiral, you correct. You learn, you move forward. That's maturity. At this point, your first million is no longer a dream pulling you forward. It's a direction you're calmly walking toward. No rush, no fear, no noise, just steady steps. Pause again, feel the weight lifting, because your first million is never just about you. Eventually, you realize that wealth is a conversation that stretches beyond your lifetime. It's not only about what you accumulate, it's about what you leave behind, the choices, the wisdom, the structures, the freedom you create for others. The easy way includes thinking beyond immediate gratification. It includes asking questions few dare to ask. What kind of example am I setting? How does my money serve my family, my community? My purpose? Am I building assets or merely amassing numbers? Those questions shift everything. Suddenly, investing isn't just transactional, it's transformational. Suddenly, patience isn't just a habit, it's a gift. And suddenly, discipline isn't just a rule. It's a statement about who you are becoming. You'll notice as you grow that generosity becomes a multiplier. Giving, whether time, advice, or capital, teaches more about patience and abundance than any market ever could. Because generosity forces you to see that money is a tool, not a destination. And here's a quiet but powerful truth. The first million is much more than a financial milestone. It is a mirror. It shows you your fears, your values, your resilience, and your vision. It doesn't just test what you know, it tests who you are. This is where mindset becomes sacred. You learn to embrace uncertainty as a companion, not a threat. You learn that loss is a lesson, not a failure. You learn that the easiest gains are not the ones in the market. They are the ones inside yourself. The emotional work, discipline, patience, humility is infinitely more valuable than any technical skill or formula. Master this, and the numbers take care of themselves. Ignore it, and the numbers will betray you, no matter how clever your strategy. So, beloved listener, as you take steps toward your first million, remember this. Consistency is your quiet hero. Patience is your secret weapon. Discipline is your ultimate ally. Your journey will have setbacks. There will be moments of doubt. But each step, each choice, each disciplined action compounds in unseen ways, quietly preparing you for a life where wealth becomes a source of freedom rather than fear. And when you finally arrive at that milestone, when your portfolio quietly crosses the 7-digit mark, it will feel less like achievement and more like alignment. Less like winning and more like arriving at home with a calm heart, a clear mind, and a life structured by purpose. Remember, your first million is not an end, it is a beginning. The beginning of clarity, of calm, of real freedom. Pause here, breathe, and hold that vision close. Your first million, it is more than a number. It is a testament to patience, to discipline, to resilience, and to vision. It is the reflection of the choices you made when no one was watching, when the world was loud, and the market was tempting you to rush, when your emotions whispered no, but wisdom whispered wait. Every step, every decision, every disciplined action built not just your portfolio, but your character. Your financial journey is inseparable from your personal journey. They rise and fall together. And when you honor that, wealth becomes more than money. It becomes freedom, it becomes peace, it becomes a vehicle for living life on your terms. Remember, abundance is not about excess. Abundance is about alignment with your values, with your purpose, with time itself. The portfolio you have built is a tool, not a trophy. It allows you to live deliberately, to focus on what matters, to extend your hand to others, and to breathe easy knowing that your future self is taken care of. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Start small, stay consistent, protect your downside, invest in what you understand, and let time do the heavy lifting. Build habits first, capital second. Build patience first, wealth second. Build clarity first, freedom second. And in that sequence, you will find that money is no longer a source of stress or fear. It becomes a quiet partner, a mirror of your discipline, a reflection of your wisdom. So walk steadily, dear family of dreamers. Let every dollar teach you humility. Let every decision deepen your patience. Let every setback strengthen your resolve. And when the day comes that your first million is not just a dream, but a reality, let it remind you not of what you earned, but of who you became. This is the easy way, not easy in effort, but easy in alignment. Not easy in luck, but easy in truth. The easy way is the path of steady choices, of calm persistence, of purpose-driven action. Pause, breathe, feel it. This is your journey, and it is beautiful. Your first million is only the beginning of freedom, of peace, and of a life guided by vision. Now, go forward with patience, clarity, and quiet confidence. The world of wealth is yours to steward wisely.